Hi guys, Felix here from FelixFashionReviews.com. The question I get asked more than anything now that I've been doing this for about 3 or 4 months is what the heck do I do? So I have a normal 9 to 5 business, that kind of thing. However, on the side I consult for a lot of fashion companies. So this is my 5th one I've been doing now. And this is a friend of mine, he only had a $500 budget, so if you guys want me to do a little bit of a mini series about how to start a fashion label for $500, let me know. But I just got these samples in from the manufacturer and I'm judging the quality right now. So I'm going to show you guys how I would go about judging the quality of pocket squares and silk in general. And if you go to the link below, I'm going to give away 5 of these to you guys for subscribing, as you guys are the first 180 I think I just crossed today. So go sign up for that, I'm going to give away 5. So we're going to look at 4 pocket squares today. Hugo Boss, which is $40, the Hans Phillip and the Taxali, which are $100, and the Versace, which is $160. So the Hugo Boss, right off the start, very creased up, and I haven't even worn this in a couple of years. And you can contrast that with the Versace now, which are both 100% silk made in Italy. The Hugo Boss, there are some stitching defects. You can see, especially around the corners, that's where you have to sort of change direction of your threads, and that's where you're going to notice the problems first. So you want to make sure the corners are perfect on these. You can also see that the Versace's white is a lot whiter and crisp, and that's because when you print color on silk, silk comes in a bit of a dull white. So when you print color, color is a darker thing than white, so it's a lot easier for the pigment to show up. To make a really crisp white, you need a very pigment heavy dye. So you need higher quality dyes to get higher quality whites. And if you see something with a high quality white, you're going to assume that the quality overall is better, just because why would you have expensive dyes and then not stitch it properly? In terms of the stitching, you can see the Hans Phillip and the Taxali have a bit of a decorative. The Hans Phillip here has a serger, so that's going to give like a contrasting rope-like texture. The Taxali is a decorative stitching, however the Hugo Boss is just rolled and then straight stitched, so there's no decoration there, and it's also easier for it to come apart. However, you can see it does go quite well with this tie. It's not a very elaborately designed pocket square, but the colors work, so if you just want something with some color, that's the way to go. So here are the 2 mid-ranged ones. You can see that the Taxali is a lot more wrinkled than the Hans Phillip, and that's because of what material they're made out of. So one's not necessarily better than the other. You can see that the Hans Phillip here is very smooth, and that's because this is a charmeuse. It's like a satin kind of thing. So when people think of silk, this is generally what you think of, as opposed to the Taxali here, which has a bit of a cross grain to it. So twill, which is this cross grain here, it holds its shape a lot better. It's easier to fold, and it'll keep those lines better. On the flip side, it'll get wrinkled, and if you want to do different kinds of folds, you might have a wrinkle in your fold, and it kind of ruins it. So the charmeuse won't wrinkle as much. It can come unfolded just because it's a bit of a slipperier material. However, it'll drape better, and if you just want to stuff that in your pocket, it's going to look nicer. You can see here where I have it matched really well with a Pancaldi tie. If you're looking for ties, Pancaldi's probably the best you're going to get. They don't do a twill. Most ties are made of twill just because when you're doing a tie, ties are meant to stay in the one position the whole time. So it's okay to have a more creased fabric like that. For pocket squares, it depends what you want to do with it. So here you can see the tie is also a twill, and that's paired nicely with the pocket square. Once again, the pocket square you really should get. Doesn't matter if it's $10, doesn't matter if it's $160, it's the one that goes with your outfit and tie. You can see that the Hans Phillip is just a little smoother in the hand, and it does drape a little bit better, and that's just because of the fabric. Once again, it's not was one better than the other. It's a matter of preference and what you're doing with it. You can compare the 2 twills here though, and the drape on the Taxali is just a lot better. Now comparing that to the $160, you can see that the Versace has much less visible creases than the Taxali. Just because the Versace is a much higher thread count, it's about 20% heavier. In terms of the stitching, not much difference. I mean, anything over $60, $70, it better be bang on. The Taxali and the Versace are made in Italy. The Hans Phillip is made in Montreal. So any country like that, it's gonna be fine. You shouldn't worry about it. What you are paying the extra for with the Versace is the styling. So you can see how there's a lot of a watercolor kind of tone transition underneath, and then you have the really crisp checkered pattern on top. That has to be printed in layers, so you're paying for that extra design work and you're paying for that extra coloring and step process, and someone's got to do that. So it's a time thing you're paying for. The Taxali is nice coloration wise. It's definitely a less elaborate design, so that means less hours just in design with some guy doing it. Here you can see the stitching between all 3. The Versace and the Taxali have a pretty standard rolled hem there, while this serger on the Hans Phillip gives a little bit of a texture to it. In terms of the drape, the Versace is marginally nicer, I will say. You can definitely see a lot less wrinkles in it. Is that a problem? I don't know. The Taxali is definitely harder to fold because of all those wrinkles, and that means you're gonna have to iron it a little bit more. Compare that with the Hans Phillip. It's a lot less wrinkled just because of the material. Even just wrinkling it up in my hand here, it kind of pops back to normal, no problem. Once again, one's not better than the other, but that's something you should look for if you're getting either a Charmeuse or a twill. You want it to not crease very much. Comparing that with the Hugo Boss here, where the whole thing is just kind of a mess. And once again, I don't even really wear this. I haven't worn it in a while. It just kind of stays folded up in my thing, and it's a mess. The Versace, when you pair it with that tie, it's fantastic, which really goes back to my point. Pair it with the tie and the outfit. Doesn't matter how much you spend, get the one you like. Just make sure that stitching's okay. Check for how crisp the colors are. You definitely want to look for crisp whites if it has it. Other than that, just take care of your stuff and you should be fine. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Take care, subscribe, sign up for the contest, and I'll see you guys next week.